Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to another episode of 100 Casts. Just got this replay yesterday from somebody who sent me a message on Reddit, I think like 2 or 3 months ago, and me being the slacker I am, I haven't logged into my Reddit account, or at least that Reddit account. I do have more than one, in, well, about that long, 2 or 3 months, so I didn't notice that he had sent me the message for so very long. I sent one back to him just to see if he was still around, if he would somehow call back to me through the ether of the internet. And he actually did. He got back in touch with me, and he still wanted to replay Shoutcasted, him and a few of his friends, and so that has led us to where we are now. Episode 71, this one's for you, buddy. Whose name I don't actually know. I don't know which player he is, but he said that he was part of a team that consistently played with one another, and it looks like Blue Team has a bunch of team tags, UN. Potentially, this is the League of Legends team of the United Nations. I somehow doubt that a little bit, but you know what? Let's run with that. Let's say that's what's going on here. And we've got a few interesting picks right off the bat. UN is actually rocking a really heavy AD team right here. That signals to me that they're going to be trying to win somewhere around the 25 to 35 minute mark, because past that it's going to get a bit trickier, especially with a Dr. Mundo on the enemy team perfectly happy just building Thornmail after Thornmail, mixing a Sunfire Cape in there somewhere perhaps. Danger K takes the Thunderlord's proc and goes incredibly low. I'm not sure what he expected out of that trade, but now we've got Echo hanging around the corner. Doesn't quite get the gank he was looking for, but I don't think he's really even necessary in that lane. The amount of pressure coming down just from the Corki laner is pretty intense, especially against a Zed who seems more than happy to walk right up to the minion wave very, very often. Let's talk a bit about this bot lane while the camera's hovering on it. Oh, here we have Pingla going in, landing the damage onto Soraka, focusing the correct target, because any damage on the Tang ZX is just going to be healed up, but they don't quite burst down. Come on, her Crest, and that is Awkward Finger forced to flash away as Pingle is playing defense. And just as I said, Tang ZX is going to get most of that health back from the magical healing pony. And Soraka herself, if she's decent with those Starfalls, can regen a bunch of that health as well. And that's kind of the interaction that I was about to bring up in this bottom lane, demonstrated for you perfectly just as I begin to talk about it. Leona, Lucian, the alliterative lane, is really, really trying to burst you down when they go all in. And Soraka's actually surprisingly good at countering that sort of lane if they don't work out. Debonair Bender just about avoiding the stun from the parallel convergence, and now with Danger K90 coming in from the mid lane, High Flying Jay is in a lot of trouble. That is first blood almost instantaneously, really helping to even out that mid lane, which was starting to fall to pieces for Red Team. Once again, Pingle, rather, jumping in onto Commander Crest. I'm going to say Crest, by the way, because I like to try and keep this channel PG-13 for the most part. Occasionally slip a little bit, but I try to do the best I can, keeping this family friendly. And I'm really surprised that summoner name actually made it through. Riot's usually pretty good about getting rid of people who have those sorts of uncouth names. Let's talk about the one lane that I don't really think I've touched on yet. Top lane, that is. We've got a Shyvana facing off against a Mundo, and you know, it really feels like I'm way back in Season 3 with this matchup. I've been stuck into a time capsule and gone back a few years, but this time, it's the Mundo coming out on top. Partially just because Mundo is so very strong right now, just numerically speaking, a lot of his numbers are even post-nerf a little bit too high, and he's just got damage where damage shouldn't be right now. Which honestly used to be the case for Shyvana back when this matchup was common previously. Artelli doing some good percentage chunk damage with those auto attacks while an enemy is marked by the Dragon's Fire. Shyvana does actually do quite a bit more damage, especially to a target with a lot of max health like Mundo. Debonair Bender now in a 1v1 jungle with High Flying Jay, still has his flash up, so he's able to use that to escape, but that's even more resources burned for this Echo, who's having a rough time of it in the jungle. Now Debonair Bender might be able to make a gank happen onto Ludocris, but chooses not to invest in it with very little mana left, and Shaco not exactly being the highest threat jungler at level 4. going to be able to just walk right out of that one. And Ludocris will continue with the pressure here in the mid lane. But that first blood is really evening out pretty much any advantage that Corki has garnered so far. 7 or 8 CS, I would say, is a little bit less, honestly, in terms of gold than the 400 that first blood gives. Rourke A takes another few chunks there, as he has not yet been back to base. And that item disadvantage is giving Artelli a bit of leverage in this lane. I'm a little bit surprised that Rourke has chosen to stick around in lane this long. He's going to go ahead and head on home now. Crest is being jumped on by Pingla. But without any follow-up by Awkward Finger, Pingla's going to have a bit of an awkward time and is forced on out of that sort of micro-engagement, let's call it. Got high-flying Jay looking for a ganking opportunity. Soraka is very easy to gank, and that is one of her weaknesses. There's the stun landing onto Crest. A lot of good damage chunking through. Tang's EX gets the benefit of Soraka heal, though, and now Rourke is teleporting into the bottom lane to try and turn this one around. High-flying Jay looks like he's going to be once again falling to red team. And a gank gone wrong. Awkward Finger now getting chunked away. The heal proc to keep himself alive a little bit longer. Pingla nicely dodging away from that cleaver, getting the minion to body block it. That's going to be one kill so far for red team, and what looks to be a setup for a tower dive. Here comes the Zed ulti right on Awkward Finger. He goes down before Deathmark even has time to pop. No assist for Danger K in that kill. Lucian went down so quickly. And then Mundo picks up another one. This time, Zed does manage to pick up an assist as well, but however many assists Zed picked up, that was still 3 kills overall for red team in one of the most botched ganks that I've seen in a while. And not through much fault of UN, really. Perhaps we could have seen a Shyvana teleport in on that scenario. Having just the extra body on the board might have changed things up enough. And the roam down from Corki could have been enough. It's really just map movement that could have helped out UN quite a bit in that situation. Because they had the right idea going in to gank the Soraka lane, burst down the pony, but then red team was just quicker on the trigger finger to respond. And, well, we really see Awkward Finger paying a huge price for that one, personally. He was even on CS earlier, was even leading by a little bit, but because of the wave that because of the way the waves got pushed in after his death, and well, just because of his death, that's going to bring Tang ZX back into the lane. He's got 1-0-2 as opposed to an 0-1 scoreline, and that's really what an Ezreal wants to see in the early game. He wants to get that tier. He wants to start building into the blue build items as quickly as possible. It's a scaling build, and as with anything scaling, as with a Rise, as with a Vayne, you want to get started on that road to the end very quickly. Rourke A is getting chunked away, nearly dead. But of course, the ulti will keep him alive a little bit longer. That health regen, very, very powerful on our purple-skinned menace. Ooh, I don't know if Danger K really wanted to send that shadow forward. Without an ulti available, he is getting chunked away. There's the Soraka wish to come in. Ludocris, though, with no more mana. I don't know if he's going to be able to finish this one. Does steal a flash away from Danger K, at least. And really, he didn't actually invest that much into it. He was going back to base anyway, so he doesn't mind taking that extra damage, and that's just a summoner spell down from his opponent. Debonair Bender, though, with summoners of his own, is going to be flashing onto Corki as we swap back to the bottom lane. The camera deciding that this engage onto a Soraka is more important. There is the missed gap closer from Pingla. He's going to pay horribly for that one. Takes a big chunk of damage, and it is not stopping. Now Crest taking some of his own, but he's pretty safe. As High-Flying Jay looks for a potential dive up here into Rourke A, but he is still not level 6. And that is a level 7 Mundo with ulti up very soon. It would be a difficult target, to say the least. UN really just not finding any opportunities to come back into this game here. They're not devastatingly far behind, though, to say the least. They are down by about 1,500 gold or so. But they don't see a way to close even that gap. Not quite yet. Oh! Well, maybe that'll be a way back into the game, at least for Awkward Finger, as Soraka disrespects the cuddling and steps a little bit too far forward, taking a few bullets to the back of the head. Goes down without a chance to retaliate. And that lack of mobility really, really painful when there's a lot of bullets flying your way. Ludocris with the package, looking to try and push the advantage in mid lane, which is kind of the one lane that UN really has a solid advantage in. Artelli now getting ganked in the top lane. The red buff slow from Debonair Bender is going to try and keep him under check. Didn't get to see how Ludocris used the package there, but it looks like it was burned in an even health trade between the two mid laners. the Sork Shoes completed, Ludicrous is actually doing quite a bit of magic damage here, as Artelli continues to get pushed in the top lane. This duel between the top laners has been pretty swingy, back and forth. It kind of just depended on jungle pressure for the most part. Rourke's teleport is back up, so Yuan didn't really get the opportunity to capitalize on that cooldown differential, as earlier in that bottom lane catastrophe, of course we did see Rourke teleport in, not followed by Artelli, so that meant that they had the advantage there in terms of global presence for a few minutes, but just didn't find any opportunities to make use of it. Bengla eats the brunt of a true shot barrage, but at full health, Leona is not a squishy target. Tank ZX mainly using that just to push the wave out before basing. Blue build Ezreal probably has some CDR in his runes and masteries. We'll have that up fairly quickly again.
Taking a break, Ezreal?
Oh, look, it's the money skin. This man spent a lot of money so that he could look pretty and kill minions with style. It's also the skin that lets your enemies know when you fail at CSing, because it actually does have its own special little animation when you kill a minion. It turns them into blue puff stuff. Ludicrous with no more mana is not going to be able to Valk forward, but helping him out, Danger K swaps back right into a Gatling gun full of death. He could have walked away from that. I really think that Danger K could have just walked away from that, as there was no mana to Valkyrie on the side of Ludicrous. He had no way to keep going and get that last auto attack or two in there needed to finish off Zed, but he just wanted to die, I suppose. This Zed had a death wish. He wanted to make the lane a little bit harder for himself, just so that he can show off his true potential later on. The unknown strategy is the deadliest, as Artelli returns to top lane with a cutlass in his inventory, looking to build into a blade. Not a surprising item choice against Amundo. It is going to mean that he's a little bit less squishy in the... a little bit less tanky, rather, and more squishy in the laning phase. And those cleavers are going to chunk pretty hard, since he's building offensively early on. But cleavers can be dodged, and that is probably where Artelli is hoping to get his tankiness from, by simply avoiding damage mechanically. That's always an option. Also, the lifesteal will help him out quite a bit. He's going to go in, test his mettle against Rourke. With a wave of minions on his side, it looks like he's winning out that duel, but just by a hair. And when the flame cooldown is not available, Artelli really has no way to actually seriously damage Mundo. He went with a Sunfire Cape Rush pretty expectedly. He was thinking either that or Dead Man's Blade would be the item to start with. Crest is getting leaped on and absolutely deleted as High Flying J finally manages to make one of these ganks work. And with no responses on the map over the last few minutes, Blue Team has managed to bring back some of the gold lead here. Tang ZX takes a big chunk of damage, forced to flash away as High Flying J ults on out of there with the Chrono Break. Debonair Bender now getting stunned up again by the beautifully placed Parallel Convergence. Then High Flying J redeems the last few failed ganks with a very solid one in the bottom lane. Gonna result in 3 kills overall, bringing UN back into this game in style. Danger K continues to get pushed out in the mid lane, where Ludicrous is just extending his lead further and further. I think the best way back into this game for Danger K's Zed is to roam. Bottom lane has started to crumble a bit for Red Team, and they need to recover that. It's not entirely out of their grasp yet. I can see why perhaps he hasn't roamed too much. Shyvana is not the tastiest ganking target, and Soraka, Ezreal are not very easy to gank for, so they don't really have any lanes that are great for roaming. It's not like there's a Leona on their team, or a Thresh, or something like that. Somebody that can set up easy kills for the Zed to pick up. But I digress. I'll get back to that in a second as Rourke is getting jumped on by Artelli, pardon me. Looks like he's got backup in the form of High Flying J, though. Parallel Convergence doesn't quite land this time, but he's looking for that third proc of the passive, and he is going to find it. Shut down. Gold goes over to Blue Team as they continue to close the gap. Debonair Bender has just not been able to have enough of an impact recently. It was a great start with that beautifully coordinated play in the bottom lane for Red Team, but they just haven't had any other impact yet. Danger K going to be going down in another botched 2v2. Oh, no, the minion damage is just enough to pick up the shutdown. And Debonair Bender walks into a pink ward and dies. There's not really too much else I can say about that. It's pretty clean and straightforward. I'm unsure why he was continuing to hang about that fight. It's not like High Flying J was particularly low on health or resources. He even had Chrono Break still to his name. And while, yes, High Flying J did not have the best opening to this game, he's picked it up here in the mid-game. And he has now become something of a sizable threat. That's going to be the middle lane turret, almost definitely falling. Nobody around to defend that. And Echo's Bat is decently effective at destroying turrets, it seems. Pinglo missing with the Zenith Blade there. That's alright, he's laying on the pressure. Solar Flare could be coming in soon to make that gank happen, as it seems that High Flying J and Ludicrous are both going towards the bottom lane. Ludicrous with his first roam of the game, we'll see how it works out for him. Crest getting left on already as Awkward Finger does a good chunk of damage just by himself. Here comes Pingle from the side with those Leona procs. That is going to be a dead Soraka. Meanwhile, up towards the top of your screen there, Ezreal perished as well. That is 10-5 now, as coming back from a 0-4 deficit, UN are just dictating the flow of this game now. And it's hard to pinpoint exactly the moment where it slipped from Red Team's grasp, but it certainly slipped and has fallen quite far. Debonair Bender seems to think that top lane is the way to get it back, and perhaps they're right. As I said earlier, with a almost full AD comp, Corki, to be fair, does a good amount of magic damage, but he's still got some physical damage under his belt as well. And so with an almost fully physical damage-based comp, UN are kind of weak to this Mundo in the late game. He could become a huge powerhouse for Red Team. And perhaps Debonair recognizes that fact and says, well, the rest of the map is inexplicably beginning to lose traction. Perhaps we just focus on this top lane, we get Rourke fed out of his mind, and we allow him to build multiple multiple armor items. But yeah, it looks like he's building some MR early anyways. I mean, Shyvana and Corki, to be fair, do a decent chunk of magic damage. I wouldn't call them AP carries, but they're sort of mixed damage, and perhaps having one MR item mixed in there would be the right choice. Spirit Visage, most likely the option, just for its passive. Pardon me, for how strong it is on Mundo in the first place. The item passive, and then the MR is just a little bit of icing that he needs on top of that cake to survive the Shyvana 1v1s. Or maybe a bit of mitigation of Corki poke. But in the end, I expect to see lots more armor items populating this Mundo's inventory than magic resist ones. Honestly, I think the magic resist needs of the entire team could have been met by just buying a locket on Soraka, and then Rourke could entirely devote himself to armor, and then in the mid-game, Red Team could go for some maybe rotational plays and team fights, and look to try and pressure that way, and just keep Soraka near people to mitigate the Corki poke, and that's really all they would probably need. Tengex misses the Ezreal ulti there. Awkward Finger. It's a bit of an awkward spot, but he's done some good damage to Ezreal. With Soraka around, though, there's no chance of a turnaround even if he does have quite a bit of burst to his name. This High Flying J goes for an invade. Danger Kid going to be flashing forward. There's the heal and the flash in return. Awkward Finger manages to relocate himself with his team. That has been one of the most drawn-out chases I've ever seen. Danger K going down in a burst of damage. As now Rourke is tanking as best he can, but off to the side, the jungler is trading 1 for 1. High Flying J now leaping on back in with the Chrono Break. Going to be doing some good damage to Rourke as well, but Crest is healing up his team. He is playing the MVP right now. Rourke going to be flashing away again, but Artelli is here to follow him with his own. Now leaping finally onto the Soraka, they take away the Band-Aid, and Tang Zex is potentially turning around, actually. He's going to be going with the Arcane Barrage. Another Mystic Shot lands onto Ludicrous. He's very low in mana, but then again, so is this Corki. And that standoff just kind of fizzles as both of them decide it's a little bit too risky. Oh, you know, Tang ZX wants this mini wave. With vision on Corki going up the river, he knows that this is relatively safe, especially considering that same vision would spot Corki coming back down to kill him. So he gets a few more minion kills to his name, a bit more damage and gold. That spectator bug is so weird. It's not even really a bug, is it? I mean, I guess that's a feature, but it's just... It's going to happen at the same time every game. You don't really need to tell me, but yeah, the Rift Herald just commits suicide when you're in Spectator. It doesn't announce it in-game, but it does announce it in Spectator mode, and it just says that the Rift Herald has slain itself. So, and you get to see the depressing end to Rift Herald's existence. 20 minutes, and he's just done with the world. Sits there for 20 minutes being ignored and decides that's enough. He's out of here. He's going to go ahead and let Baron take his place. It even announces it in chat. Apparently minion kills are in gray. I didn't know that. Anyways, let's get back to the game at hand here, folks. as we have UN at the 20-minute mark, which is always a good time to just take stock of what's going on in the match, because that's really when things have reached the mid-game. That's when things, at least in the current meta, have reached the point of team decision-making rather than laning decision-making dominated by jungler movements. More lanes are actually taking part in more parts of the map, and it's more team-focused. In a game like this one, which isn't a solo queue game, or potentially is now with dynamic queue, but is a game with multiple players communicating with one another, presumably. This is the point in the game that is most important, in my opinion. Ludicrous getting hit by that cleaver there. Rourke is going to follow it up with a little bit more damage, but that does give Pingla an opportunity to go in, and being Leona, he's not going to be passing that up. Xenoblade gets a bit of damage onto the enemy jungler before he deceives his way out of there. And it looks like we're having a congregation of red team in the middle lane, as Rourke, with a bunch of tankiness under his belt and that little bit of MR that he needs to survive the Corky Poke, taking up the front line for his team as Debonair Bender looks for a potential flank. This dive would be difficult against a Leona Echo, but High Flying Jay is not waiting for them to try and dive. He's leaping in himself. There's the Soraka taking a big chunk of damage, but she's in the back of the team fight now, and nobody is being able to focus onto her. At least not without giving up their own lives. Ludicrous is going to be going down as Artelli comes in from the side, but still, even without their mid laner, we see UN cleaning up this fight pretty damn easily. Crest now caught off to the side without his friends is going to be going down to High Flying Jay's just continual DPS, as tank echoes often do. Or tank E echoes, I should say, as you can see here, he's full tank echo. I presumed he was going to be going with runic echoes, but I presumed incorrectly. He's actually just building straight up tank, sort of semi-DPS echo with Sheen procs and the damage from Cinderhulk. And, you know, I can't really blame him. They've got quite a bit of damage coming through from this Lucian right now. 4 and 2 hitting on those item spikes, and more importantly even from this Corky. Ludicrous with a Trinity Force completed. I can understand High Flying Jay just kind of wanting to be the dive buddy for his team with Pingla and Artelli. Is it really a dive buddy if there's 3 of them? Dive trio, I suppose. As they have the ability to simply leap onto come on her crest and Tangzex and absolutely delete them from a team fight. Maybe I should just start referring to her as Soraka. I think that would be the best thing I can do in this circumstance. I've been talking about Rourke's Mundo and how he can become a sort of immovable object for the front line of Red Team, but does that matter? Is the question. At this point in the game, with UN having taken such a sizable lead, honestly, it seems like they have the ability to simply ignore Rourke. Dive to the back line. Ludicrous getting chunked away, getting slowed by that Iceborne. The Ignite is burning, and Danger Gate will pick up a kill. Nice pickoff for Blue Team as they're looking to get another one in the bottom lane with Awkward Finger in a duel with Debonair Bender. He's actually going to win it with the Piercing Light across both the clone and the real Clown. Now Artelli desperately trying to focus down Soraka is not going to be able to pick up the kill as Rourke A and Danger K90 are going to follow up on the overextensions from this dragon. I don't know if Chrono Break is going to be able to save High Flying Jay. It is! He is such a tanky gentleman! High Flying Jay now taking tons of damage, though, as he dives into a bush to try and break line of sight. Pingla, despite all of his tankiness, will go down as well, and I don't think any amount of cuddling is going to be saving Awkward Finger here. He picks up a kill on the Soraka, but I don't think that was worth it, buddy. That is the ace. Perhaps he could have saved the outer turret with that culling instead of just burning it and some summoners to take down the Soraka, but he was hungry for blood. He was hungry for horse blood. I guess he got it. But if Harry Potter has taught us anything, it is not a good idea to drink unicorn blood. Oh my god, that burst damage from Ludicrous. Where did that damage even come from? I guess that was a crit and a Trinity Force proc. That was more damage than I was expecting, and evidently more damage than Tangzy X was expecting. Or else he might have arcane shifted his way out of that situation immediately. And I would say that team fight was won pretty decisively by Red Team, but it still doesn't feel like they took too much from it. They got the outer mid turret, and now they're kind of disorganized across the map again. Very little vision, very little coordination here. Doesn't look like they're executing a specific strategy, but more so just taking opportunities when they show up. They're waiting for the opportunity to come to them instead of trying to fabricate the opportunity. perhaps Debonair Bender and Danger K can make some sort of pressure play across the map with these split pushes. It looks like Debonair Bender is dedicated to this right now, as he's actually built some really powerful split pushing items in the form of that Tiamat and just a lot of high damage and armor penetration items to 1v1 enemies with. And as Shaco, he is very difficult to catch at least. High Flying J now in the enemy jungle, stealing away the blue buff. And in a 2v3, Pingla and High Flying J are holding their own. They're not going to be winning this one, but they bought enough time for their team to come around from the side. Kohli now coming in onto Soraka. Beautiful body block from Tang ZX. Will stop that last bullet from finishing off his support. But then his support decides to walk straight into the lane in front of a Lucian. But maybe it was all just a bait so that Awkward Finger would go a little bit too deep and delve a little bit too greedily. Looks like he's going to be able to escape from this one, though, as no more damage on the way. Rorke in a 3v1 will finally be able to finish off Awkward Finger after many attempts have been made on that man's life. And the Bruisers will actually not be able to finish it off here. Whoa! I thought Rorke was going to go down for sure, but that is the triple kill for our Dr. Mundo. The Doctor is in, ladies and gentlemen, and building more magic resist, which I'm confused by. But you know what? Credit where credit is due. He picked up the triple kill there in what looked to be a pretty desperate situation. Now Ludacris coming in with the chase onto Danger K. One more rocket might just do it if he can land that Sheen proc. Ah, he's so close to it. He's going to flash over the wall. There's the Valkyrie available, and one auto attack finishes off the kill. He finally takes down the slippery ninja. Oh, whoa. Flash in from High Flying J. Deceive is available for Debonair Bender, though. Makes it into the bush, tosses down a box, and High Flying J is going to look fairly foolish in this chase. That is a Shaco, my friend, and they are difficult to catch. This is a clown fiesta right now going on. Debonair Bender, though, turns around to kill the blue ward. And then jukes out to the other side with an invisibility flash on a 5-second cooldown. Pretty difficult to keep up with. But perhaps less than 5 seconds. It depends on how much CDR he's built and whether or not he's maxed Deceive yet. Which I imagine he has if he's going for the split push centric build. You usually want to max Knife Toss for the damage burst that it does. And then I guess you could max Jack in the Box for a more jungle clear. Or you could max Deceive for the lower cooldown to be able to escape from people coming to stop your split push. Ludacris with the swift blue buff steal is potentially going to pay for it as Cleaver lands onto his backside. He's going to be forced to drop Valkyrie, or package enhanced Valkyrie, to escape from that nasty situation, but he did get the red buff, and I'd say trading package for red buff is about worth it. Soraka takes a big chunk of damage, as Pingla doesn't actually quite find a follow-up onto her, but they are still getting that burst damage out, and UN High Flying is going to be picking up another kill as Rorke goes down as well, melting, perhaps not very quickly, but certainly eventually, the blue team's front line. Oof, that magic damage poke from Corky is pretty nasty. As Ludacris lands yet another big one onto 3 members of the enemy team, they're going to take the opportunity of a 2-man disadvantage to go and potentially start this Baron. It looks like Debonair Bender has really committed to this split push play. It seems to be Red Team's Hail Mary at this point. But it's not really working out for them. Artelli picks up the kill. It is a trade-off for the turret, but they're going to be getting this Baron as well. Unless Ezreal... No! It does not quite take away the kill. That is going to be a smite from High Flying J. Secure it. And in a very messy cleanup, blue team comes out just about on top with a 3-for-1 trade, including the Shaco kill in the bottom lane. 2-for-2, though, in the Baron pit area. Dragon is up, and with the consistent damage of High Flying J and Artelli, they can easily take that one down. Looks like High Flying J is actually just going to leave it to Artelli to complete. A little bit risky here, but there's nobody really up who can steal it. I don't think Artelli's too afraid of a Soraka steal. And Mundo's on the other side of the map, so just give High Flying J the ability to go back to base a little bit quicker and get that goal a little bit better. Does Soraka steal it? Does Soraka steal it? The bananas! The bananas! No! Artelli gets it. And now Soraka's life is most likely forfeit, as Artelli has a lot of ways of keeping stuck to somebody with no mobility. Soraka does burn the flash to escape there, as Artelli comes in once again for another duel, and this time High Flying J is back from his trip back to base. And perfectly happy to kill a clown clone. Defend his friend. let's take stock of the game as it stands now at 30 minutes. Every 10 minutes, the game sort of hits another breaking point, you could say. And this is where we've truly transitioned into the late game. People with their 4, approaching 5 in some cases, item builds, and really determining the way that the game is going to end. Most likely, I think, it's going to end with some almost impossible to defend sieging by Ludicrous, backed up by beautiful dives from UN, who just can leap on someone with impunity at this point with how much tanky burst they have going towards the front lines. We see High Flying Jay making a good example of that, and Rourke simply unable to provide the meat that his team needs. And you know, I was going to talk about the potential win condition for Red Team here as well, but it seems like the point is moot. Because with Baron buff minions and their whole team willing to dive under these double Nexus turrets, it looks like UN are going to be taking home a victory here, ladies and gentlemen. That is one Nexus turret falling, the second one going down as well. Mastery, high flying above everybody's heads. And that's the end of episode 71 of 100 Casts. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed what you saw today. If you did, then go ahead and click that sub button. I appreciate it quite a bit. And yeah, episode 72 should be coming out pretty soon. My name is Octavian. This has been a joy to cast for you, and I'll see you all next time.